12 years later. Oh, shoot. A monotonous electronic sound kept on repeating. The theme of that room was a so-called hygienic, emotionless white. It was a room of a certain university hospital. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to afford the cost of even a single night in this room. A room which neither her doctors nor she herself had any doubts would be the last she ever stayed in. Huh? Was the person on the bed Eva? She looked haggard and aged, to the point that you would not believe it was her unless you were told. Holy moly. Is that Eva? I mean, I guess if we are to go by what happened in the third game, yeah, she was the only one who survived the whole ordeal. So, basically this is the reality of the third game, like 12 years later. This surely would not be the case if it were the other two games, though. A well-built man in a suit, waiting in the corner near the door, was having a conversation with the outside in a loud voice, over the intercom. He was a guard protecting Eva's person. After telling the person on the other end of the intercom to wait, he approached Eva's bed. Eva had been awake for a while. However, she stared at a single point in empty space, as though her mind was not in the same place.
園児さんが下のロビーに到着しました。お通ししてよろしいですか?
For a long time, Eva didn't answer. However, bit by bit, her eyes began to regain their focus, and she gave a small nod, indicating that she didn't mind if they called Angie. Eva herself had been the one to call her, and she was right on time. Eva now refused to meet anyone without an appointment made in advance. The reason the room was dark, even though it was still light outside, was because the curtains were closed. There was always one guard waiting in the room, and 3 more waiting in the corridor in the lobby. And they were all there to protect Eva's person. Eventually, there was the sound of a knock. Also, there was a message from the intercom that a guest's body check had been completed with no problems. The door was unlocked, then opened, and a woman of about high school age was standing there.
会長、園児さんがいらっしゃいました。
Eva reacted and turned her face towards the guest. However, instead of reacting to the guard's call, maybe it would be better to say that she reacted to the smell of Angie's makeup. Having been shut up in this room for so long, Eva was sensitive to small changes in smell.
Angie. 来たわ。呼ばれたから。
On Eva's face, he couldn't find the expression of one warmly welcoming their niece. So I was right. Angie is from the future after all. Like, she was 6 years old when the massacre happened, and now she's 18. Rudolph and Kiria's daughter, Balor's younger half-sister. She didn't get to see Balor often, but they got on extremely well, but they got on extremely well, and she greatly respected him. Since she was absent due to illness during the family conference, she always survives in solitude. Unfortunately, she has become emotionally disturbed. Always carries a huge amount of cash with her, and has the bad habit of throwing it around to make sure she never has to wait. Kenzo's second child, hostile towards her brother Kraus and opposes him in almost everything, from issues dealing with the family fortune to the question of who still succeeded the family headship. Normally, she would have lost her place in the Ushiromiya register upon her marriage. She managed to forcibly overcome this by having her husband take her family name. And now we are here. And on Anji's face, you can see the expression of one pleased to see their aunt. Eva waved her arm, which had grown as thin as a withered branch, and motioned for the guard to leave. The guard bowed silently and went out in the hall.
暗い上に空気もひどいわ。カーテンでも開けたら。
そうすると、あんたの依頼した殺し屋が窓越しに撃ってくるって寸法なのかしら。
あんたの暗殺依頼なら私が受けたいわ。家でのんびりほんの一月も過ごしてれば勝手に任務が終わるもの。
Their discussion was quite morbid for an aunt and niece. So morbid, you would make the undead go back to their graves. Actually, no. I think that before we continue this, I have to think about this for a little bit. Because if I am to go by the most recent theory of me trying to follow Balor's perspective and the whole magic claim being powered by belief, then what I'm seeing here is a magic claim. Unless Angie here is... she is similar to Balor in that she has quite a lot of magic resistance, in which case this would be a human claim. That, and again, we have to keep in mind that this is the future of the third game, which will definitely not happen in the other games, because Eva died in those as well, so at the very least. However, they didn't look like they were joking. At the very least, Eva did believe that someone was after her life. All the Ushiromiya family's massive fortune had come into the possession of Ushiromiya Eva. It was said that this fortune also included that 10 tons of hidden gold that Ushiromiya Kinzo was rumored to have kept concealed. They could do nothing while this vast wealth was in the hands of the cunning, sly, and extremely suspicious Eva. But it was rumored that if it passed on to Angie, who was no more than a young girl, certain people were plotting to snatch it away at once. By now, Eva and Angie were Kinzo's only descendants. If Eva died, all the wealth would go to Angie. And if Angie were to be killed as well, that wealth would go to the family of Angie's mother, Kirie. In this sense, not only Eva, but Angie as well, was in a position where it wouldn't be odd at all for her life to be targeted by some unknown person. And Eva had hated Angie for a long time. Because after losing her precious only son, George, she had learned that the only one who had survived to inherit her own wealth was Angie, who had been absent from that family conference 12 years ago. Eva shunned Angie, hated her, even detested her. She isolated Angie in a special school, and separated her from the youth and happiness normal people would have, trying to deprive her life of all opportunity. You are quite something, Eva. For you to ruin even Angie's life like that, because of your obsession with the inheritance. You gotta be kidding me, Kinzo. You gotta be kidding me. However, Eva had succumbed to an incurable illness, and ironically, her remaining life was estimated to be the same as Kinzo's had been at that family conference 12 years earlier. Both Eva and Angie hated each other. Even though they were each other's last blood relatives, they hated each other so much that they hoped that the other would die quickly.
それでわざわざ呼びつけてなんのよ。
私はもう長くないわ。ヤブ医者どもは未だに私が盛られた毒が何かも検出できない。わかってるの？きっと某国の諜報機関で使われてた秘密の暗殺薬なのよ。ああ、私は殺されるのよ。殺されるのよ。
Secret assassination drug? Foreign intelligence agency? I mean, I cannot say for sure if what she's talking about is real, or if she's complete bonkers after all these years of suspecting people that might want to kill her for the inheritance. Like, it could be either of those, but nonetheless, I'm gonna have to take note of this.
よかったわね。もうじき死ぬわよ。そうすれば、さぞやあなたの胸がすくでしょうね。
かわいそうな人。
This always happened. She immediately deviated from the main topic, distorting it into a more than selling discussion. Eva, who was full of suspicion, believed that someone was always after her life. Indeed, after inheriting the vast wealth of the Ushiromiya family, she had used wild methods just to, like Kinzo had done in the past, and had repeatedly made money by any means necessary, creating many enemies along the way. With a massive supply of capital, she had launched aggressive takeovers against businesses which were starting to have rapid growth, making them buy it back at a high price under the guise of reconciliation. Ironically, it was the same type of action that her husband's company had been hit with 12 years ago. And this begs the question, though, wouldn't she have been suspected of murder, since she was the only survivor of the mass murder at that point? I mean, I guess not, since she is here and not in prison. I mean, then again, same argument can be said about Kinzo when he was the sole survivor. Actually, no, I was about to say it is the same thing with Kinzo, like, back before 1952, but that was because of the Kanto earthquake, not because of some murder that happened. As far as I'm aware. She had repeated this constantly for the past 12 years. She had also earned a lot of hatred. If her husband had heard of this from beyond the grave, he might have defended her, saying that this was because of the loneliness from losing her family. However, no one who knew her now would come to her defense. For some time, Eva waxed eloquent about exactly how her life was being targeted, listing off names of people who likely held hatred for her, and sneering at the fact that she still hadn't been killed. Even when Angie heard her own name included in that list, her expression did not change significantly, and she waited indifferently for Eva to tire herself out.
私はね、憎いのよ。あんたが。
光栄ね。私もよ。
ジョージのために築いた未来だった。それをあんたにかすめ取られるなんて。ルドルフの娘に奪われるなんて。私は悔しい。子も残せず。財産すらも奪われるなんて、それが私には 許せない。
だったら財産全部お布施にでもしちゃえば。お百度踏んでた宗教系の連中はどうしたのよ。
連中はみんな言うのよ。多すぎる財産が私の負担になっているって。決まってだから預けて清める必要があるとか言い出すのよ。それで思いついたのよ。寄付はやめたわ。
For a time, Iwahei invited in the founders of several strange new religious cults, perhaps looking for peace in her heart. But in the end, they did not give her heart any relief, and only further increased her suspicion.
お金が余ってるならサラブレッド買い占めてコンビーフでも作れば。
それよりもっと面白いことを思いついたのよ。いろいろ悩んだわ。どうやればあなたをひどい目に遭わせられるかをね。殺してしまおうとも思ったわ。あるいは全ての財産を消し去り、あなたを無一文にして後ろ宮家から叩き出してやろうかとも思ったわ。素敵でしょ。お上品に育てられたご令嬢が腐ったパンや泥水を這いつくばって漁り回るのよ。ああ、それも実に素敵だわ。
楽しい？
楽しいわ。あなたを怯えさせるのはね。でももうじき私は死ぬわ。だから私が死んだ後もどうやってあなたを苦しませ続けるか考えたの。そうしたら案外単純なことだったわ。それをあなたに話したくて呼んだのよ。
そろそろ中間近いんだけど手短にね。
あなたにすべての財産を相続することにしたわ。
へえ。
それどころか私が死ぬ最後の一日までどこまでも財産を増やして膨れに膨らませてあなたに相続することにしたのよ。それがどういうことか想像がつくかしら。
Well, are you gonna want to give her all the inheritance so that she would end up suffering in similar fashion to you? Is that it?
わかんないわ。バカだから。
そうよね。わかんないでしょうね。楽しみにしてなさいよ。本当に楽しいわよ。お金持ちは。毎日日本中の妖怪が朝から晩まで遊びに来るわよ。あんたの私生活はこれからはすべてワイドショーと週刊誌が覗き見してくれるわ。何をしてもしなくてもマスコミは必ず私を批判する。施せばブルジョワだと叩かれ、渋れば主戦度だと罵られる。ああ、本当に素敵な毎日よ。そんな日々に若くて先の長いあなたをぜひ招待してあげようと思いついたの。本当に素敵でしょう。
あんたのしてきたことに対する世間の正当な評価でしょ。
そうね、そうでしょうね。いいわ。 きなだけ私を罵るといいわ。そしてその評価をあなたが背負うのよ。製品が善人、金持ちは死ねというのが日本の文化。あんたはやがて何をしてもしなくても日本中から妬みと恨みの象徴に祭り上げられていく。そんな生活の中で生きていくあなたのこれからの人生はあんたの味方は誰もいない。あんたの悩みなど誰も聞かない。あなたを罵ることは公然としたスポーツになる。そしてそれを誰も止めない。ああ、エンジェああ、本当に楽しみよ。あんたはどんな人生を送ってどう終えるのかしら。世界中の誰も信用できず、誰も愛せず、誰とも語り合えない人生をたっぷり満喫しなさい。その苦労話を持って地獄へ落ちてくるのを私はのんびりと待っているわ。
Her insane laughter turned into a painful cough. Without changing her expression in the slightest, looking completely unconcerned, Angie stared at the only survivor of the Rokenjima. Perhaps because he found the violent coughing odd, the guard flew in as he gave a short knock on the door. Angie glanced at him, wordlessly showing that she hadn't moved a step from where she had been. Angie was prepared for some kind of trap to frame her even in Eva's death. However, that was fortunately a needless anxiety. As the guard rubbed Eva's back, he poured hot water from a thermos into a mug. As he did, Eva kept coughing, looking like she was in pain. Angie thought that this was probably the final form of the witch of Rokenjima, and the last she would be able to see. Eventually, Eva was able to moisten her throat and regain her normal breathing. However, the glittering madness inside her eyes hadn't subsided in the slightest. Maybe you should try some more of that green liquid Kinzo was drinking before he died. It only fits you quite well, Eva.
Aの呪われた莫大な黄金と後ろ見焼け同士の家督、そして黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの名を今こそあなたに譲るわ。魔女の名にふさわしい狂って歪んだ生涯を楽しみなさい。
そんなのいらないわ。それより教えて。あの日、六軒島で何があったの？事故があったなんて、私は信じない。あの日に何があったのか、父さんと母さんと兄さんがどうして死んだのか、本当のことを教えて。
ああ、それが一番の嫌がらせよね。あの日に何があったか。1986年の今日、なんて言葉を残して3人が死んだのか。 知りたいわよね。教えないわよ。呪われた黄金は残す。でもね、あんたが望む真相は私が地獄まで持っていくわ。それがあんたにできる一番の嫌がらせよ。悔しい？聞きたければ地獄まで行ってあんたの家族に聞いてみるといい。なら今すぐ死なないとね。今すぐへそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。
And that laugh continued until she started coughing again. And that cough did not subside until she started moaning and going into convulsions. October 4th, 1986. On Okenjima, the Ushiromiya family's customary and final family conference was held. And on the next day, October 5th, an extremely unfortunate accident occurred, and the Ushiromiya family was wiped out. As good luck would have it, Ushiromiya Eva escaped from that, and succeeded almost all the Ushiromiya family's fortune. However, due to the many and turbulent rumors surrounding the Ushiromiya family, the way Eva acted afterwards, and her unnatural actions at the time of the unfortunate accident, there was a public controversy over whether this might have been a plot to get all the inheritance for herself. Under pressure from the public, prosecutors attempted numerous investigations, and the media began tracing the outline of the murder plot under the name of Rokenjima-gate. Rokenjima-gate? But in the end, they were not able to find sufficient proof that this unfortunate accident was a crime. However, because the media continued to give the impression that Rokenjima-gate was a murder plot by Eva, public opinion began to believe that she was the true culprit. Of course, all that easily condemnable overbearing financial activity which she had carried out using that vast wealth left a bad impression that only made matters worse. Every time she did something and the rumors started spreading, the talk shows would bring back Rokenjima-gate, blaming the justice system by saying that she was the true culprit, and that the only reason that she hadn't been arrested was because even the police had been bribed. Ah, the police. And the impression that she was an evil criminal grew stronger and stronger. Her heart eventually degenerated, and ironically, it began to transfigure her into the kind of human that the public expected. By now, Eva had no one she trusted, and no family. Her beloved husband, Hideyoshi, was already no more, and talk shows would occasionally mention his company, saying that he was run recklessly, while criticizing and disgracing its former accomplishments. Even her beloved son, George, was dramatized as the stereotypical rich, lazy son that the public expected, and no one even attempted to find out what a simple and honest character he had possessed. As to how much all this hurt Eva and ran her to ruin, no one was interested. The public was only interested in the idea of an evil woman who had gone so far as to kill her whole family to become an multi-millionaire, and in what kind of pitiful final years she would lead. So she changed more and more, until eventually Eva's personality was transfigured, to the point that she was treated as a lunatic. It was said that she sometimes remembered that this was exactly the same way her father Kenzo, who she had once admired, had been in his later years, and laughed at herself with scorn. And on the day of their final family conference, because Ushiro Miyarudo's daughter, Angie, had been sick and had stayed with her mother's family, she had not participated. At the age of 6, she lost her family and gained Eva as her guardian. Since Angie had become Eva's only blood relative, Eva took very good care of her. She had imposing guards always surrounding Angie's person to prevent her from coming to harm. Angie had even her right to play with friends, to come home from school together, and to enjoy the seasons together, stolen, so that she can live a full and pleasant school life. Eva sent Angie to an elegant boarding school, which took care of her every need, completely isolating her from the world. She didn't even know the popular songs that girls her age might hum. She was never once given a chance to enjoy window shopping with her friends, or stuff her mouth with crap, much less an encounter with a member of the opposite sex to make her heart throb. Angie did not have a single friend. If anyone carelessly acted friendly with Angie, they would be scolded by the guards, or else the teachers. All of them were strictly ordered not to let the peasants approach the daughter of the esteemed Ushiro family. During that time, the talk shows were always talking about the Ushiro Eva, and always spreading rumors about her many financial evil deeds. And those who found out that she was her daughter naturally began to keep their distance. Even now, she was called a witch at school. And anytime something adverse happened, it was basically whispered as truth that the school was operating according to her wishes, and that she had something to do with it. The environment makes the person. By now, she had a heart as hardened as those around her feared. Another person whose life had been ruined by the chain reaction that Kenzo created. He would deserve a better life, not this. She trusted no one, and didn't even try. She loved no one, and didn't even try. On top of all this, whenever caught an incurable illness, it was whispered that this too had been planned, and this time, Angie was set up as the mastermind. Everyone whispered that the daughter of a witch was a witch. Even the talk shows and the weekly magazines whispered that. So Angie too, because of that, no, as though it might as well be true, accepted it. Therefore, since she already believed that she was a witch, when she heard that the name of the Golden Witch was being turned over to her, she felt nothing if not completely unfazed. However, she was at least sure of one thing. This talented witch that she had inherited would definitely never be inherited by anyone else. She would be the last head of the Ushiro family, and the last isolated Golden Witch. And you could be seen on the roof of a skyscraper. Wow. Compared to the winds of the world which had beaten down upon her till now, this strong, cold wind was warm and pleasant. Oh no. Don't tell me that you're doing what I think you're doing. Below her lay a beautiful nighttime scene, and a dazzling river of red and white lights. It was a clear sky tonight, so there really should have been countless stars stretching out over the sky. However, the light from the ground was so bright, you couldn't see them at all. And you couldn't help but think that what she really saw lay somewhere in that unseen starlight. The world of reality below her looked so far away from here. And this place felt to her as the closest to the world she should really be in. There was only one thing that Angie cursed. Why had I not been able to go to that family conference on that day 12 years ago? If I had gone, I would probably have been able to be with my family forever. Recently I've been having a dream about my family, over and over again. Myself of 12 years ago calls out frantically, urging them not to go to the family conference. Both mom and dad are too far away, and my hand won't reach them. I reach for the hand of Bella Nissan, who always really loved me, for the hand that would always pat my head. But even though it looks like it's so close to reaching, even that falls short. For some reason, I started having that dream over and over again. Whenever I have that dream, I repeat my useless effort inside the dream, trying to stretch out my hand even more forcefully. If only Bella Nissan at least could have lived. And then perhaps, at least the two of us could have supported each other through life in this cold and lonely reality. But his hand never reaches me. So even if I climb to the roof of the building as tall as this one, I am distantly separated from all of them. A mysterious girl appears in my dreams and urges me. That girl in my dreams urges me to arrive at the truth of what happened 12 years ago. Mysterious girl?
父さんたちにあの日何があったのかを知ることができたなら帰ってきてくれるの。せめて誰かが。
There was no way that anyone existed who could answer to those words. I understand. In this world, I have no family, no friends, no one. So, let's go. Let's go home, to where my family is. From the beginning, Angie's figure had been on the far side of the fence. And the scenery below her eyes was distant, beautiful, and so fantastical that it did not give rise to the slightest bit of fear. If I face down, I'll surely be taken to the world below. So, I faced up, because I wanted to be taken to the world above, the world where my family was. Who cares about vast wealth? Who cares about cursed gold? Who cares about the golden witch Beatrice? What I really want isn't something that even the amount of gold will help me obtain. What I need for that is just the small amount of courage to take a single step forward. Just then, I definitely heard a voice. I knew that voice. The voice that had always called to me in my dreams. Before my eyes. In other words, in mid-air above that jet black nighttime scenery. And it was the figure of that girl I had seen in my dreams. Huh. So she was talking about you. Hi, Bern. She spoke again, with the same voice that I heard inside my dreams.
あなたの助けが必要なの。私の助け？誰が？あなたの家族がよ。あなたの家族は永遠に12年前の今日から明日に閉じ込められているわ。それを救えば私の家族は帰ってくるの？
When I asked the question I most wanted to ask, the girl cruelly stopped talking and hung her head.
それは約束できないわ。敵は黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。強大な相手よ。私には太刀打ちできない。でも同じ黄金の魔女ならなんとかなるかもしれない。何の話かわからないわ。1986年のベアトリーチェに太刀打ちできるのは1998年の最後のベアトリーチェだけ。つまりあなたよ。エンジェベアトリーチェ。12年前の魔女が私の家族を奪ったの。そう、あなたの仇にあたる。あなたに常に孤独な未来を強いる元凶よ。私の家族の仇。
Indeed. The one responsible for trapping the entire family in a game of torture. One thing that needs to be done is, well, figure out the truth. And I'm sure that Burn here will help us on that.
見返りにあなたの望む最も理想的な世界、家族の帰ってくる世界のかけらを探してあげるわ。でも必ず希望が叶うと約束はできない。1986年のベアトリーチェのゲーム版はあまりに完璧。今日の手土産にその理想のかけらを持参しようとしたんだけれど、未だに見つけられないの。かなりの強固な運命よ。ラムダデルタと戦った時以来のね。何を言ってるのかわからない。あなたに復讐のチャンス。見返りにあなたが享受できる可能性の中で最も幸せな結末を探して持ってくることを約束するわ。復讐。徒労になるかもしれない。仮に復讐を成し遂げられたとしても家族が帰ってくる絶対の保証はない。奇跡的確率でせいぜい一人を連れ戻せるかどうかよ。
And she now understood the meaning of that dream. It may seem impossible, but it is worth a shot. I mean, it certainly is better than taking one step forward towards your death. I mean, that's for sure. You know what they say, to spin the chessboard and create a miracle. In that dream where it seemed that, with just a little bit more, her hand might at least be able to reach Bella or Nissan.
奇跡的な確率でも、それはゼロよりは高いのよね。1% くらい。あらゆる可能性の数値は結果の前に無力よ。 だからその数字を私には語ることができない。でも私が何もしないよりは絶対にわずかの可能性がある。
Indeed.
ええ、あなたが希望を捨てない限り。ただし覚悟して、それは限りなくゼロに近い。いいわ、乗るわその話。いいのね。多分もう二度とここへは帰ってこれないわよ。ここは私のいるべき世界じゃないわ。そして私のいるべき世界は私が自分で探す。あなたの名前を聞かせて。奇跡の魔女ベルンカステル。そして我が名においてあなたを黄金の魔女エンジェ・ベアトリーチェだと認めるわ。今こそあなたは本当の魔女よ。
In the instant she proclaimed that I was a witch, I felt dizzy, as though something inside me had changed drastically. Just then, I heard a slam. It was the sound of the door connecting the staircase to the roof being opened. They were Aunt Eva's guards.
20マルタイ発見、屋上応援求む。エンジェさん、探しましたよ。そこは危ないですから早くこちらへ。
何あれ？ファンクラブよ。私結構モテるの。捕まる必要はないわね。行きましょう。
Looking annoyed, Ben Castell turned on her heels. In the jet black sky. Watching that perfectly casual gesture, I followed her as though it was completely normal.
エンジェさん、待ちなさい。早まるな、危ない。
ああ、ダメね。全然ダメ。じゃあまたね。See you again.
The absolute truth? Here we go.
迎えにはリムジンをよこしてちょうだい。みんなも一緒だから。じゃあね。
エンジェさん。